Hi, everybody. This is How I See the World. And I have a special guest, a key witness to the Burke Street event. If you're not familiar with what that is Demetrius Gargansulis in his car attack on Burke Street, of which we have zero footage. There have been many witnesses being interviewed by the police. I actually happen to have one on the line right now who was there when this unfolded. He happens to be Peekay's son. Now, I want to say right off the bat here that I asked for this interview. Peekay mentioned to me about 2 weeks ago that his son was there, and he told me a little bit of what he experienced, and I, coming from a place of truth, wasn't that shocked at what I heard. A few days ago, I realized that this is something that the people should hear. So, welcome, Peekay's son. He wants to remain anonymous. We're not going to be saying his name. I just wanted to make sure everybody was clear that I instigated this interview. And before we get into that, welcome, and I appreciate your time in doing this. My first question, I guess, to you would be but when did you wake up to what's going on in this world, the reality?
Hello, Robin.
Hi.
Thanks for having me on.
Great.
It's been a while now, close to 10 years, I think. Pretty much same as my dad.
It's a lot longer than I have been awake.
And yeah, I mean, it started a bit before that with 9/11, but yeah, close to 10 years ago, getting into the whole New World Order, Illuminati, who's running the world and all this sort of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and initially told everyone I knew about it. Only person that was really interested was Dad. He sort of, got really involved in it, started doing his chemtrails, and yeah, he's just gone on from there.
Right. My understanding is that you turned him on to the truth about chemtrails. Is that true?
Well, it's a fair while ago now. We both, I don't remember specifically, but we both sort of came across this sort of information at the same time.
Oh, okay. That was, I think he started researching chemtrails about 5.5 years ago. What do you think of your dad doing this stuff, of spreading truth around the world with his videos?
Well, yeah, it's good. More people need to be doing it.
I agree.
I obviously don't have a channel. I'm not out there making videos. I sort of like to just keep to myself and tell people in person, what I can.
Hey, that's important.
But yeah, it's good. We need more people like that and yourself doing what you do.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there who don't make videos. I'm in contact with some of them through my channel, and they're always, tweeting or Facebooking things, or just telling people, verbally having conversations with people about things, and they tell me their experiences, and that, you tell one person and they tell two, and then those two tell four people, and on it goes. It's a great thing to be doing. Everybody should be doing, something.
Yeah, that's right.
So I take it you don't think your dad's crazy then?
Definitely not. No.
Do you think
he's passionate? He gets
yes,
he gets a
he
bit
is.
worked up and gets right into it. But that's a good thing.
Yeah, he does. He's very passionate about this, and I totally understand that. And sometimes we fly off the handle, because we are so passionate about it, because it drives us crazy. So
we should be.
Absolutely. No, everybody should be up in arms about this stuff. So do you think his work is helping to wake people up?
Well, of course it is. He gets, all sorts of comments all the time. He's got so many subscribers and views and whatnot. People saying thanks.
Yeah.
You've helped me so much and all that. Like I don't get into the hoaxes and that to the level that he does. Like
yeah.
I'm sure you'd agree. Like, and he would too. Like it's the same thing over and over. We've seen it a million times. But most people don't even see it. You know what I mean? So it needs to be pointed out. And
That's exactly
it's
right.
something that's so obvious. These hoaxes and whatnot are so obvious to see that like it's a good thing to try to introduce people into this whole conspiracy thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely important.
Yeah. As soon as you understand how they do it, then you see them for what they are when they start happening. And every time there's a new one, you can just what to look for, and you're
Yeah,
not
go, sorry.
you're not afflicted by it. Like when the Pulse thing happened, I knew right away, immediately, that it was a fraud, and so I wasn't traumatized by that, and that was really a beautiful thing. I'm not sitting there going, "Oh my God, all these people died," because I knew right
Yeah,
away what it was, and the more I looked into it, it confirmed what I knew. So it's a great thing to be awake.
that's right. And you see a lot of like, especially like the big name conspiracy researchers, like they won't go near any of these hoaxes. Like they'll just say, oh, it's a false flag. Like it was a real event. People really died. This and that, and
Yeah.
they'll put their little conspiracy twist on it, but still portray it as a real event sort of thing. Which I mean, like it should be a good thing. People aren't dying in these events.
Oh, absolutely.
They're not
Yeah.
real, and there should be nothing wrong with pointing that out.
It's actually good news. It's
Exactly.
it's good news, but
Exactly.
it's also really bad news that these things are happening and they're doing this to. I mean, the amount of people that they are terrorizing and traumatizing with these events are far greater than the people that they aren't traumatizing, the people that are awake. So we're trying to reverse that.
Yeah, I mean, and like you try to speak to people about this stuff, and like a lot of them will say like, oh, I don't care,
Yeah.
all the rest of it, but they're still there watching the news and buying into it.
Yeah.
It's sinking into their minds that that's real, and they might act like oh, I don't care, I'm not fearful of this or that, but deep down it's going into their mind, and they are on a certain level.
Yeah, I think it affects them in ways they don't realize it. But people
Yeah,
say they're going to give up trying to wake people up because they're so blocked. But the more truth you tell them, it does get in. And eventually they do come forward and say, hey, all that time you told me all this truth, I wasn't believing it, but now I believe it. I see these things for what they are now. I've heard many stories like that. So it might not seem like it's taking effect, but it actually is working. So that's a great thing. People need to realize that.
yeah, that's right.
Why I mean, it seems to be fewer Aussies than Americans doing what your dad does. Why do you think that is? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Uh, um, well, I guess the majority of things happen like in America. You get so much more things happening than we do.
Yeah, you're right.
For starters, but I couldn't tell you. Like everyone I know, like is just completely clueless to any of this stuff, and
Yeah.
same with my dad, and I don't know. I guess that's all over the world. But yeah, like I said, you get more events and whatnot, and so yeah, maybe that's
Yeah,
why.
I think you're right about that. I think you hit the nail on the head that there is so much more of these faked events going on in America. I mean, they went sixfold under the Obama administration.
Yeah,
And now Trump's been in office, it's been what, 6 weeks now, and we haven't had a fake shooting or any kind of fake bombing or anything. Nothing's happened like that yet. So we're all over here crossing our fingers and holding our breath and hoping that it's not going to resume. Um,
oh, I'm sure it will.
yeah, I
Pretty
hope
soon,
not.
yeah.
I hope not, because it's a lot of work. Oh God, how has this Melbourne incident affected you in particular? Your dad being arrested and all this stuff. Can you talk about that?
Well, yeah, it had a bit of effect because, as he's already stated numerous times, my sister and mother are completely against any of this.
Right.
Uh, and yeah, when it happened, and getting my mother involved with this reporter calling her hospital, she was hysterical over it, and then
Right.
she got right into me about it because apparently Dad mentioned my name in a video for helping him, so somehow I was a part of it as well.
Yeah.
And then just yeah, just tried to say, well, he's in the right. He's done nothing wrong.
Exactly.
You won't even look at the evidence. You won't even take 5 minutes to watch one of his videos.
Right.
You'll sit there and judge and whatnot. And so yeah, it has affected. I'm not really speaking much to them at the moment. Neither is my dad. I mean, he's been separated from my mother for a while now, so they don't interact anyway. But yeah, it's obviously had an effect.
Right. That was the Australian Jewish News that called her.
Yeah, where does he get off doing? I mean, if he wants to call her and speak to her, that's one thing. But then to go telling the hospital like the whole story about this and that, like
Yeah. Your mother wasn't there when they called, is that right?
No, he never spoke to her at all. He just basically laid out this whole story to whoever he spoke to at the hospital.
Right. Which is really unacceptable.
You have doing that, exactly, yeah.
It's defamation of character. It's all kinds of wrong, but that's what they do. That's what you expect from mainstream media. So
yeah, and then the whole thing with the having to speak to these mental home people doing an assessment on him, and it's just an absolute joke. And he gave them details to actually call and speak to me because they wanted to speak to someone.
Yeah.
They actually spoke to my sister, and she didn't really, because she's dead against it. She just said what she had to, but didn't really go overboard. And then I actually called him up myself and told him exactly what a joke it was. And she basically just wanted to hang up on me. Just couldn't care less what I had to say, and I just said, he's at his, just leave him alone. It's a joke.
Yeah, that's really dangerous territory. The mental health issue, because Sandy Hook. I don't know if you're well versed in the Sandy Hook lie, but that's a big one that they go after. Is this whole mental health thing to bar people from getting guns? That's big in America. They don't want us to have guns.
Yeah,
but
Sandy Hook's like the most blatant hoax of all time. Anyone who can't see how fake that is, I mean, there's something wrong.
Yeah, it's just people. I have friends who I tell, I say, well, so Sandy Hook is a complete fraud too. They get instantly offended because it's about children. So that's the power of the Sandy Hook thing. It's the children, like you're disrespecting the deaths of children. Well, actually, the people who pull this off are disrespecting the deaths of real children, which is just unconscionable.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's pathetic, this whole thing. But the mental health thing, go ahead.
With these like Sandy Hooks and Bostons and whatnot, like people down here, they don't really pay attention to any of that. Like it might be on the news for a few days, and then no one around here even knows about it. Like with this Burke Street thing and whatnot, they know all about this, so it's
right.
It's important for us to
yeah, it is
make a big deal out of it, I guess.
So the American events don't last long in the news over there?
Not really, no. Like if I were to speak to someone now about Sandy Hook, Boston, or Pulse or whatever, most people probably wouldn't even know what I was talking about.
Right, and you know so well because your dad's involved in exposing it.
Yeah, I mean, I look into all these hoaxes. I do. Like I watch his videos, I watch your videos, but yeah, I look into them all.
Well, that's great. That's what everybody needs to be doing. Trusting their own eyes, their own intuition about these things.
Once you've seen a few, it's just so obvious. As soon as it comes up, just go to Daily Mail, look at a couple links. They got like 400 photos on the thing within hours. They got all the victims and all these stories, and they got these dodgy camera, CCTV, whatever it may be. It's just,
blurry footage, always blurry. Always cutting away at the right moment, so you can't really see what's going on.
They got all these witnesses there, no emotion whatsoever.
Right.
It's just pathetic.
Well, it's this thing with the Burke Street is the same thing with the Nice truck attack. There's CCTV cameras everywhere, which of course in the Nice truck attack case, as you know probably, they decided they're going to destroy all the footage. Like, I mean, how obvious can you be in a cover-up? I mean, it's like destroying Sandy Hook School and the Lanza House. Let's just get rid of the evidence. They did that in 9/11 too. They just trucked all that debris out of there. That was a crime scene. So that's what they do. Yeah,
that's
it's
it.
very obvious once you're awake. So let's get on to Melbourne. First question I want to ask you was, how was it that you were there, that you're in that area?
Well, I work in the city, about a 5 minute walk from where the donuts took place, and about 10 minutes from the Burke Street Mall where I ended up.
Okay. And
And
where did
and,
you end up?
and my lunch breaks, I take an hour lunch break from 1 to 2 o'clock. So do
Okay.
you want me to get into exactly what happened, or?
Tell me first where you were exactly, when you're going to tell me what you saw or heard or didn't see and didn't hear. Where were you?
So I eventually got to the intersection of Burke and Elizabeth, which
Okay,
is
right here.
the end of the Burke Street Mall. So one
I
block
see,
down
yeah.
from one block down from Swanston Street.
Right. So the car came, did its donuts on Flinders,
Yep.
went down Swanston Street, and we saw footage there with cars slowly following him. The same unmarked police cars that did absolutely nothing while he was doing his donuts, and other
Yep.
cars as well followed him. And then he went on that footpath. We saw that footage where he's actually braking and actually avoiding people and swerving around someone who fell down. So not the kind of behavior you'd expect from somebody who wants to run people over. And then that's it. We
Exactly.
see nothing on Burke Street at all. So you were right at the beginning of the Burke Street, or the ending rather. Yeah, on Elizabeth
Well,
and Burke.
if you look at, there's a few, I know a couple of people have done videos on it, and it's showing maps of the area.
Yeah.
So where I was just one block down from Swanston, but he actually goes much, much further than that. But that's, that's Burke Street Mall is from Swanston to Elizabeth. So it ended that.
I have a map on the screen right now.
Okay.
And I'm using my cursor to show where you were. So about what time were you on Elizabeth and Burke?
Would have got there right on 1:30 and till about quarter to 2, 1:45.
Okay. So before you tell me what you experienced, were you one of the 500 people that the police interviewed for the Blitz? They called it
No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't.
You were not. They had
I'd love to know who that.
They had that article where the police interviewed. Whoops, wrong window. They interviewed 500 people apparently, and there were apparently also 1,000 policemen there as well. So
yeah, it's a lot of people.
Yeah, and absolutely. So where's all that cell phone footage? That's what I'd like to know, and dash cam footage.
Good question.
Okay, so let's have it. Tell us what you experienced there when you got there.
So yeah, do you want to explain how I actually got there? Like
Sure.
why I was actually down there?
Sure.
So yeah, I had my lunch break started at 1 o'clock. I've quickly eaten my lunch, walked straight down Flinders, gone past where he's done the donuts. Nothing out of the ordinary at that stage going on there.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone one block down Swanston towards Elizabeth, turned right there. There was a shop I had to go down just before Lonsdale, which is so going down Elizabeth, past Burke Street. It's the next main block down, basically. There was a shop there where I specifically needed to buy something.
Okay.
So I've gone down there, bought what I needed, turned around, headed back down the same way I was going, back down Elizabeth.
Okay.
I've got to where I mentioned, the corner of Burke and Elizabeth.
Right.
And I can't exactly recall why, but it seemed like something was going on. Like there was more people than usual at the spot that I stopped,
Okay.
which was the opposite side of the tram tracks, so the other footpath. There seemed to be a lot more people there than usual, and people sort of looking around, like asking each other what's going on, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I'll just point out there was a long tram conveniently parked right there on the corner, so I couldn't actually see the footpath that he's apparently gone down. I couldn't actually see at that point because it was like a 20-30 meter long tram blocking my view.
Okay.
So I've stopped thinking, something's going on. normally, something's going on. You want to look around and see what's happening.
Right.
And I've noticed, first thing, there was two cops standing on the corner of the footpath that he's gone down,
Okay.
on the corner of Elizabeth Street, and they're just standing around, not looking like they're doing much. I've looked across the road in front of the Commonwealth Bank, and it seemed like there was somebody either sitting or lying on the ground. It was a
Okay.
bit hard to tell. Like, a lot of people were blocking my view. It seemed like, someone was sitting or lying down, and there was like 2 or 3 people surrounding them. But there was no sense of urgency. Like, they weren't, panicked or nothing. I didn't think a big deal of it.
Yeah.
They just looked like they were standing around waiting for something.
Okay.
Looked further down Burke Street, the path that he's apparently gone down, and that looked like unusually quiet. Like, that's sorry about that. That's less busy, that area, than the mall, but there's still other businesses and shops, so it's still a reasonably busy area. But
Okay.
it seems unusually quiet, so I didn't pay any attention to that. I think nothing's going on down there. So at this point, I'm thinking, not much is going on. I very nearly just continued on my way down Elizabeth Street to get out of there, and just looking around me, all these people, thinking, something's going on. And then heard some police sirens going off. Like, all right. And then 2 cop cars came screaming down Elizabeth Street, where I'd just come from.
Okay.
And they've just gone straight basically into the middle of the intersection, and essentially done what they could to block off the intersection. And at this point in time, I'll just point out, as I've rocked up, the traffic's running completely fine. There's no screaming, there's no crying. Just like any other day. The only difference was there was, like I said, a bit more people than usual, and it just, I don't know, had a weird feeling like something was going on.
Right. Something's not normal.
And so where was I at? And so, the 2 cop cars, they've rocked up straight into the intersection. I can't recall exactly what they did. They jumped out of their cars. I think they've gone over to the 2 cops that were standing there. I said what they've, I don't know, done whatever they've done, and I think they started taping off part of the intersection. They were telling people to get away from that footpath where the cops were originally standing, moving people out of that area.
Okay.
And then I've looking around, and I've turned to someone next to me. I've said, do you know what's going on? And then he said to me, apparently some guy was getting chased by the cops, and he's come down the tram tracks. He didn't say the footpath. He said he's come down the tram tracks, and he's hit someone and just missed dozens of others. I thought, okay, it seemed plausible,
Right.
not that out of the ordinary. And then I said, so what happened? Is he just taken off? And he goes, he done a left at Elizabeth, and the cops were following him. And like, all right, so
down Burke Street, you mean?
Everything he's told me wasn't even true. He's told me the tram tracks, and he's apparently gone down the footpath.
Right.
He told me he's done a left at Elizabeth, and he's apparently gone down Burke. So I've completely lost interest of whatever's going on further down Burke. I wasn't for a second going to go down that way.
Okay.
And then...
And did he just seem like just some regular citizen?
He seemed just a regular young guy. I don't know if he was there to spew this false information to confuse people, whether he'd been told that, and he was just saying that to me. I couldn't say. Probably should have asked a few other people, but I didn't make a big deal of it. At the time.
Right.
I'll just point out, at not one point through the whole thing did I ever consider this was a hoax. I just thought this was a regular...
just some accident or something.
There was some accident had taken place, and that was it. It was going to be minor news, no big deal. And then, standing around for a minute or two, and then out of nowhere, more and more cop sirens, and cops just came from everywhere, like Elizabeth, Burke, and just nothing I've ever seen before. Like they were waiting around the corner, and they've just all launched right into this intersection, jumped out of their cars, completely taped off the whole area, yelling and screaming, everyone get out of the area. like really aggressively, and no one's really moving. Everyone's like just sticking around wanting to see what's going on.
Right.
So
and they were telling people to get out of the area aggressively, you said?
Yeah, like nothing I've never seen that before. Like it was odd, but didn't think nothing of it at the time. Just went along with it. And then another copper walked up to where I was, where most people seemed to be hanging around, and he said, anybody that saw something, come over and stand. And he's just pointed to a specific area.
Yeah.
And immediately as he said that, about 10 or 20 people have instantly put their hands in the air, jumping up. Yeah, we saw, and they've all gone over to this spot.
Oh,
I'm just thinking, like a couple of minutes ago, I've walked up and everyone's looking clueless, looking around like they don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, 10, 20 people are jumping up and down. They saw what happened. So I've thought, all right, something's genuinely happened. All right, I've got to get out of here. And then
were these people around you really close, or were they kind of just across the street or in the street, or where were these people that raised their hands suddenly?
Oh, well, it was that whole path, that whole footpath, I guess, on the other side of the tram tracks. Not all bunched in tightly, just spread out, but a rather small area.
Yeah.
And then so everybody's started. They allowed us to walk back through the mall, so I've started walking back through the mall, up towards Swanston Street. And it wasn't until I got to the end of the tram tracks. Oh, I'll just point out that there was the whole time I was there, didn't see any ambulances showing up at all. As far as I could tell, no paramedics, no nothing, just cops and regular people.
Right. You didn't see a single ambulance or a single paramedic?
No single ambulance, but just cops everywhere.
Cops
and sirens
everywhere.
went off. And so I've got to the end of where the tram was parked, and I've suddenly realised that the whole other footpath is completely empty, but there's a body lying on the floor. I think it's in front of another bank. I think it was. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And there's like a circle of people around it, sort of blocking the view. And I've thought, all right, well, this is the person that's been hit. I don't know why they're on the footpath when they've been hit on the tram tracks.
Right.
But it made sense. Okay, this person's been hit. And so then, started walking slowly further up to. I'll just point out also. So it was about this time that I've looked at my phone to check what the time was to see how long I had before I had to get back to work. And at this point, it was 1:40. Okay, and I'd been there for at least 10 minutes, possibly longer.
Okay.
And now, as we know from other footage, he was doing the donuts at 1:30, 1:31, around that time.
Right.
The 7-Eleven CCTV shows 1:33. So by the time he's gone to Elizabeth, it's what, 1:34.
Right.
So I'm there at least 4 minutes before he's apparently gone down. And even if I had got there a minute or two afterwards, the place would be chaos. You know what I mean?
So you were there when he was. So you were there in your position at Burke and Elizabeth, approximately when he would have been doing those donuts.
Yes.
So when he showed up down there, you would have seen it.
Perfect view.
But he didn't show up.
Not at all.
You never saw that Commodore.
Not at all.
Or cars following him. No procession of cars racing or chasing anybody. Nothing like that.
No.
Just person laying on the ground. Cops telling people to get out and then asking who saw what, and having a whole bunch of people raise their arm all of a sudden.
Yep.
Okay. Wow.
And so slowly walking up towards Swanston and starting to realise that the whole other footpath is completely deserted. So I'm guessing that was when I first rocked up at 1:30, that whole footpath had already been sort of evacuated, and that's why those two cops were standing at that corner, preventing anyone from going on that footpath.
Right.
But I didn't realise none of this at the time because the tram was completely blocking my view.
Right.
And I didn't realise I didn't realise that body was there or what was going on there.
Yeah.
And so I've walked up towards Swanston, and then about 10, 20 metres from the corner of Swanston, they've got they've got police tape from one end of the mall to the other, one side to the other. And I don't know when that was. Was that at 1:30 also? It seemed like it because there was like
they move pretty
rows
fast.
rows and rows of people behind the tape, all staring down the mall, trying to see what was going on. The only people in the mall at that point were us that were at the other end, and were walking up out of the mall. Like no one was allowed in from that end.
Wow.
And so I've gone through the tape, and that intersection at Swanston Street, all the focus was on the mall. Like I said, they taped off the area 10-20 meters from the spot, and there were just so many people right at the tape staring down at the mall. So after he's done his donuts and gone down Swanston, obviously he hasn't turned on to Burke. He's just continued down Swanston. So the people that were at that corner would have all been focused on the mall, and very few people would have actually seen him going through. You know what I'm saying?
Right, because he probably went through slowly and wasn't being chased at high speed, so nobody would have paid any attention to him.
No, they were all looking at the mall. What's going on at the mall? And then he's just gone through with the cops behind him, and they've gone off to wherever they've gone.
Well, it seems very clear that if he did donuts and sped off down Swanston and ripped around that corner down Burke and ran over a bunch of people about 3 blocks worth all the way down past William Street, you would have seen it, and there would have been plenty of evidence of this occurring because you were there right when that would have happened, and you didn't see a single thing.
whole place would be chaos. The traffic was running completely fine. Not one scream, not one bit of crying. Scream, like absolutely nothing. There would be, and the whole stretch of the mall. I looked at that entire footpath the whole way, and it was completely normal. The only abnormal thing was the woman lying on the floor, surrounded by ordinary people. There should be. Where is all these other bodies that that got injured? Where there was, things should have been knocked over, and things flying everywhere. There was no rubbish, no tire marks, absolutely nothing. Completely normal.
It would have been chaotic.
Apart from the one body, that's it. And so I've walked out of there. By this time, I had to get back to work. I've gone back to work. Not really. I mean, again, the whole time the word hoax didn't even come to me for a second. Just thinking, all right.
You just didn't know
it seemed plausible. It sort of matched the story that the guy gave me. It's just a regular thing. Yeah, all right, whatever. Had to go back to work. Finished work at 6, so I was there for another 4 hours. I think a few hours later, Dad messaged me. Obviously, it got out on the news, on the internet, whatever.
Yeah, right away.
And he messaged me saying, what do you think? Do you know anything about it?
Yeah.
And then I've told him, like, yeah, I was there. And he said what I've just said then. I said, and he said, oh, is it a hoax? I'm like, no. I said, no, it's definitely real. Something definitely happened. And this is before knowing all the details, just a few things had come out.
Yeah. Well, at the time you didn't know that he was allegedly doing donuts down there on Flinders and coming up Swanston. So
didn't know about the donuts or Swanston. Didn't know he'd gone on the footpath. Didn't know he was, ranting on Facebook about conspiracies and the Illuminati and all the other, official story that came out of it. And then I've just gone home. I had other things to do Friday night. Didn't really pay any attention to it. It wasn't until the next morning, the Saturday morning, jumped online, and I think Anaconda Malt Liquor had 1 or 2 videos up.
Yeah.
And I think it was like showing like fake blood of further down Burke Street where most of the footage comes from.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I was just like,
Austin bombing blood.
Yeah, I just saw the vid and I was like, you've got to be kidding! Like I was 100% convinced this was real. And I just couldn't believe that it happened right there, and I was there. It was crazy.
Yeah, you were in position to see him come up the street at the exact right time, and it didn't even happen. So
exact right time, and people will probably jump up and say, "Oh, yeah, I'm just making this up."
Well, they will, and that's why I said I wanted to do this interview, because a lot of people call your dad a shill because that's the only way they can try to discourage people from listening to his truth. I get the same thing. Anybody with kind of a higher subscriber count on YouTube telling the truth to the world, they're going to get attacked that way, and the only way they can do that is to disparage you and make cast suspicion on you. So they're going to say, "Oh, you're his son. Of course, you're going to lie and make up this story for
Yep.
him." But I wasn't asked to do this. I wanted to do this. He mentioned you were there, and I kind of just didn't, I just wasn't surprised that you didn't see anything. And then I realized a few days ago, I thought, well, wait a minute, he's a witness. The world's got to hear what he didn't see, basically. So here we
Yeah, I
are.
mean, like, I wasn't like obviously Dad knew about it straight away that I was there. I wasn't jumping up and down, to get out there and tell people about it. Um, um,
Yeah,
and yeah, like you said, you asked me to do it, and yeah, here I am.
yeah, and I appreciate that because this is the you're you're actually the only real witness that I've heard give a true event of this case, and the police are interviewing 500 people. And of course, I don't really think they're actually interviewing 500 people. They're just saying
Of
that
course,
because they're putting the number into the consciousness of people in Melbourne and the world that there are 500 witnesses when there
yeah.
aren't. There are no witnesses because nothing happened. So, I mean, and you're proof of that. It's really,
Oh well, it's not proof, but it's yeah, it's why people can take what they want from it. Like yeah, it is what
well,
it
yeah,
is.
I mean, I consider it proof because you were right there when he would have been there turning that corner and
Oh,
nothing happened.
it's proof for me. That's for sure.
Yeah, and everybody was in place. You had your fake victims on the ground in place, and everything's already taped off. I mean, even the tram cars seem to be
Oh,
strategically
he was.
placed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And it seemed to me, um, like that they were there in place, as he was doing the donuts, like like at least 5 minutes before he's actually even meant to have gone down there. And like I
yeah,
said, it's placed all the attention on the Burke Street Mall. So at the Swanston intersection, no one's paying attention to him driving past.
right, exactly. Nobody even noticed. And it's probably on the CCTV footage. There's probably some cameras that captured him slowly driving past and maybe going around to end up where they stopped the car where they could smash it to bits. I think there was a witness who said he heard lots of banging. Um, and as far as I'm concerned, the damage to the car doesn't at all look like some car that just hit some people. It looks like it's been smashed in, but I'm not, I'm no expert on that. So,
Yeah.
and then come on, the pram stuck in the windshield. Give me a break. So,
The CCTV cameras absolutely everywhere. Like the following Monday, I went down and walked the whole path.
yeah,
There's just CCTV cameras everywhere. Of course there is. That's the world we live in nowadays.
yeah,
And yeah, like you said, we only see just enough to show him going on the footpath. And what do you see? He gets on the footpath. He's stopping and starting, putting on the brakes. Not one person's getting hit, and then he gets off the footpath back
right,
onto Swanston, and see you later. He's out of there. And then you got the whole. You look at the map. I mean, the amount of distance that he's covered, and
yeah,
we see absolutely nothing. And
right.
we get that one little tiny little shot to prove that he's gone onto the footpath.
It's like 3.5 blocks or something. It's just, yeah, there would be so many people coming forward. The whole place, like you said, would have been total chaos. I mean, you'd have victims laying around all over the place.
Yeah, it'd be a
Um,
mess. People would be screaming like,
yeah, Smoke and Mirrors has a video out. I'm showing it right now with the side with the sound off, where he walks down Burke, filming all the CCTV cameras, and they're everywhere. I mean, they're
yeah,
everywhere. There's no way. There's no way. There's no footage of that event if it even happened at all. Which of course we know
not,
didn't.
not,
But
not going to see it because no,
yeah,
no car went down there.
exactly. They can't. Yeah. I mean, it shocks me that they still do these things when they know. I mean, they can't fool people like us who look into it and know what to look for. Um, so I feel for the people in Melbourne who have to deal with this, and the people who know like you, and it's very frustrating to have to see your fellow people being lied to and stolen from because money's being extorted for this ridiculous event. And the propaganda is what maddens me most of all, is all the vigils and all the flowers and all these images of hugging people. It's just so ridiculous. It
Yeah,
gets very, very tiring.
sure
Wow.
does.
So
And
that's,
another thing I'll point out. initially how I said when I was at the Elizabeth and Burke, and I looked further down Burke, and it seemed unusually quiet.
Yeah.
Something that I found out a bit later, a few days later. I spoke to a bike courier that I know works in the area, like on a bicycle.
Yeah.
And he mentioned, I asked him if he happened to be in the area, and he has there's like a whole group of them, like they all hang out together, and
Yeah.
and I assume, if surely one of them has seen something, and of course not one of them saw the car. They all saw the the after effects.
Right.
They all thought it was real. I didn't get into any details about that. But one thing he mentioned to me was that when I asked him where was he when it happened, he goes, he said, yeah, he was there, but he missed it. And he goes, but there are other people that he knew that were actually trapped in some of the buildings. So I didn't push him any further on it, but what I'm guessing is the area where the car's been stopped, the buildings around that area, people have actually been prevented from going outside.
So they can't see anything.
Yeah, so most of the people that we see in those videos are probably crisis actors. Obviously, there'd be a few people here and there.
Yeah.
Like I doubt they've blocked off the whole street, but that would explain to me why it looks so quiet. I mean, I don't know how they'd get to every building and prevent people from going out, but at least one or a few did.
Yeah, they would have had to have blocked this off beforehand.
Yeah, because I mean, if you want crisis actors, laying down on the street and doing their little thing with the cameras rolling, you want as few genuine people walking around the area as possible,
Right, exactly.
So yeah, that's just something else.
I think, they chose a very interesting location to do this because there are lots of tall buildings and they all have windows and people can look out and see what's going on, which is why there were lots of people holding umbrellas over the fake victims. And even one of them, people were holding a sheet over the person, like a canopy. I saw that image a few days ago.
Yeah.
I think your dad mentioned in one of his videos it wasn't that hot that day. So, it seems to me obvious that they were just hiding the scene so nobody was taking pictures and seeing what was really going on,
Yeah.
To see these crisis actors when they stopped screaming for the cameras.
Yeah, it's amazing. They only scream when the camera's on, and then
yeah, I saw that, the little girl, the little liar. And that's another tragedy. Go ahead.
I just wish I had walked down that part of Burke Street, and I would have walked straight past them and seen how fake it really was. But like I said, I got told he went down Elizabeth, and that part of the street looked deserted. So yeah, I had no interest in that.
Yeah, well, it turns out that you were right exactly where you should have been. That is going to make the biggest difference in hopefully waking more people up, because you would have seen that car turn that corner right there where you were, because you were basically standing there, like I said, when he was doing the donuts, and you were there for 10 minutes, and he didn't take 10 minutes to go down Swanston to turn that corner onto Burke. So
no.
If he did it, it was invisible, and you missed the whole thing.
And the bodies also happened to be on the floor.
Yeah, they were already there.
Already on the floor as he's doing the donuts.
Exactly. Yeah, okay. So it's obviously all set up and staged. I mean, we know that, but this is really great that you're telling this, and I really appreciate you talking to me, because this is. I mean, you're the only witness that's telling the truth that I've come across. Anything you're going to get out of the police as far as witnesses being interviewed is going to be the same old thing that everybody else is hearing. So
people can take it, how they want. Like I'll happily get up in court under oath and say exactly what I've said, word for word. Awesome. I'm not making nothing up. I've got nothing to hide. What about all these cops that are involved? All these media people and all the rest of it, the government. All these families of these supposed victims. Are they going to get up and do that?
No.
Unlikely.
Yeah, it's I say it often, and it's true. They're terrorist organization, because what they're doing is terrorizing people. This is terrorism. It's psychological terrorism. It's not a joke, and this is a crime against all of humanity, because it's not just affecting Melbourne. People all over the world see these stories, and it affects a lot of people very deeply, and it is traumatic. So it's it's something else to think about. Have you tried, by the way, to contact the police to tell them to say, "Hey, I'm a witness. I want to tell my
Um,
version of what happened."
Dad actually did mention it to me. He was actually looking for a number to call. I didn't really want to just call the cops and just because the first thing they're going to ask me is all my details, and I wouldn't really want to give them that. I mean, what are they going to do with my story? They're just going to
Oh yeah, they'll do what
throw
they
it out.
did to your dad.
They've got their 500,000 witnesses.
Right? Yeah.
They're not going to listen. They're going to listen to a word of
Well,
what I
your
say.
story would go right out the door, and if they know who you are and they thought you were going to pursue this, they would just come and throw you in a paddy wagon and take you down to the police station like they did your dad and
Yeah,
intimidate
so
you and
I'm
terrorize
not
you.
going to bother. Not going to bother going down that path doing that.
Well, I think what you just did talking to me here is going to be very effective and the best thing that you could have done, actually. So the whole world will be able to find this video, I hope, and get the truth about what you didn't see.
That's right. That's
Well,
right.
that's amazing. So, do you have anything else to add? I think that's going to wrap it up here.
Um,
Do you think you'll ever follow in your dad's footsteps?
I probably should get out there and start doing some. But I don't know. I don't want to just be another guy just making the same videos, as everybody else. I don't know. When I find my thing to do, I'll get around to it, I guess.
Well, I think you're doing it
Hopefully
right
this is
now.
something.
Yeah, you are doing a little bit of it right now, or it's a big thing actually. It's a lot. So that's great.
And another thing to all these people that are, there's a lot of people out there having a go at my dad saying this was all staged and he never got arrested and
Oh yeah, I know.
and it's actually people actually bringing my mother and sister into it on videos. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Like just low life scum. Like
Yeah,
just get over yourselves. Like all of these people combined have done like not even a fraction of the amount of work that Dad's done, and to just sit there and say that this is just made up and fake, it's
yeah,
just ridiculous. Like
you're exactly right.
and people actually fall for it. Like
Yeah, they do.
just open your eyes and just think just think, people. It's bloody obvious, man.
Well, they call me the same thing, but they call your dad a shill. So I just say, well, where's the shill work? Go look at his channel. That's all they have to do. That's all anybody who hears that someone they trust and listen to on the internet or on YouTube or wherever is a shill is just go look at their work. It speaks for itself. You know,
Yeah,
who's shilling here? Nobody's shilling. But like I said, that's all they can do. They can't prove us wrong because they can't prove that a car went down Burke Street. So the only other thing they can do is try to disparage and discredit the person telling the truth. That's their only alternative, and it's very transparent once you know what's going on.
yeah.
So
So yeah, and just so yeah, thanks for having me on, and thanks for all the work you do. You're one of there's very few, in my opinion, genuine people out there, doing this sort of work. You and Dad, obviously.
yeah,
Yeah, just keep doing what you're doing, and
well, thank you very
and
much.
yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. I hope we talk again.
Okay, thank you.
Take care.